Have you ever dreamed of what it would be like to have some really simple and functional magic spell up your sleeve that would get you out of any difficulty and color your life in happier shades? I have such a one for you. It's called letting go. The principle of letting go is, in my opinion, the essence of all teachings and wisdom. It leads us to remain calm, relaxed, trusting, and kind in all circumstances. This is the most powerful magic in the universe. At that moment, we wink at each other with delight. For many of us, it may sound too simple to believe it can work. Why do it easily when we can complicate everything nicely, right? I definitely don't want to discourage you from complicated and intricate labyrinths. They also have their charm. But sometimes it's handy to have something beautifully easy on hand for times when we get too tangled up. And maybe one day we will find pleasure in that simplicity. As easy as the spell might be, we must pull it out and use it. Well, this is not always so easy for us, but practice makes perfect. So let's go. As I mentioned before, letting go is an integral part of perhaps all of the deeper teachings. In this episode, I will talk about letting go according to the traditional Hawaiian philosophy of oponopono. Let's start from the basics. Who am I? This is the most important question we should ask ourselves in life. Discovering our true nature and identity is the reason for our existence and should be our highest goal. We often lock ourselves in the invisible cage of our beliefs, judgments, opinions about ourselves and about others and the world. When we fly out of this cage, we find that everything is different than we thought so far. We realize that we are co-creators of life and we are loved by life itself or God. According to oponopono, our mind is composed of three parts. Superconsciousness, this is our spiritual part. It is always perfect, knows everything, and above all, knows who we are. Conscious mind, this is the mind as we commonly know it, or also the intellect. It doesn't serve to know, doesn't need to know anything at all. Sometimes we tend to believe that our knowledge is greater than the divine and that we can best solve things ourselves. But the intellect is only to be the executor of our free will. At any moment, we are free to choose whether we will react and get involved in problems and situations, or whether we let it go and leave the solution to that part of ourselves which knows everything. The subconscious is our emotional part, the so-called inner child. It stores all the memories, is responsible for what is happening in our lives. It is also in charge of the automatic processes in our body and is our intuitive part. In our subconscious, there are stored so-called memories, programs that are constantly repeated and are creating a film of reality in which we live. Any problem is actually a repetition of these memories or programs. We ourselves have 100% responsibility for everything that takes place inside and outside of us. The problem is not somewhere outside, in circumstances, situations, other people. They only reflect what is in us. If we want to change the reflection, we must change what it reflects. If, for example, I am not happy at work or relationship and I feel that the problem is at that job or relationship, I can try to change it and find another job or relationship. But the program that caused the dissatisfaction will still remain, and soon I will feel the same way in a new job or relationship. The scenery may change, but the plot will still be the same. Of course, even external change can help us in many ways. It is more a matter of not looking for the root cause of dissatisfaction out there. When we free ourselves from within, from what we are not, we will be precisely led to such changes that our new reality is in harmony with us. The more we know who we really are and are in harmony with ourselves, the more we can recognize what is right and best for us. It may happen that the situation at work will change, or I will find out that this is no longer the right place for me and I will go elsewhere, either on my own or I will be fired. But I will know that it's actually helping me to move on because the original place doesn't resonate with who I am. But I'm not running from a hostile world. The place where I am and the things and people I meet are not accidental. They help us better see ourselves and our own limitations. As soon as I connect with the peace and joy in myself and release some program, suddenly the plot changes, either in similar or completely different scenes. In effect, every situation, person or problem that arises in our life gives us an opportunity to release a causal memory or program once and for all. Problems are repetition of memories, information recorded on audio tape. When it starts, we think it's real. And when we react, we try to find a solution or judge the situation in some way. We get trapped in this recording and we strengthen the given program or memory. It's a vicious circle. The mind tends to constantly evaluate and judge something, trying to tell you that it knows everything the best and that you need to know the answer to everything. But it can only work with knowledge and memories, and we see just a small part of reality. In fact, we don't need to know what has caused the thing or how to solve it. True wisdom and truth come from God, from love. God is not a religious puppet. He is the source of life, the part of us that knows everything. We can call this source whatever we want. After all, the very concept of God and our relationship to Him is also part of memories and programs. Knowing life, God, is a lifelong development, as is knowing oneself. It is a force that creates and controls all life. How can we believe that our mind knows the best solution? We have achieved a lot already, but it's still nothing against the wisdom that controls the movements of stars, the perfect design and working of nature and our own bodies. So how can we make that perfect wisdom to work for us and even through us? We can make a decision at any moment. Will I let myself, by that what happens, whether it's an idea or feeling or something outside, will I let myself get carried away and react somehow? Or will I decide to let go? It is above all a dilemma of trust. Do I trust more in my mind, reason, emotions, or in the wisdom and power of life, God? We often resort with letting go only at the moment where all our hard efforts fail and we resign in the ruins of disintegrated concepts. However, it is possible to do it even earlier, and we will not lose any fun. On the contrary, we may prevent us from few abrasions. The moment I decide to let go of the problem, the thought, the emotions, I give permission to life, consciousness, to God, to erase, to cleanse the associated memories and programs. Letting go is surrender. When we hand over something, then we should not try to deal with it further or worry about how it will turn out. We must trust that life, God, or love will solve everything at the best time in the best way. We don't have to, nor can we know when and how. All we need to know is that everything will turn out to be good, that what is best for us will come, and stay open to all possibilities and expect a pleasant surprise. Often a solution comes that we would never have thought of in life. It may even seem like a miracle. People often feel that letting go is too passive, but that's just a sign of dependence on the feeling of self-control. Above all, we are letting go of fear, mistrust, acting on the basis of old programs and beliefs. Only when we get rid of those things, we can hear an inner voice that will guide us and see the possibilities that were hidden from our sight until then. Letting go and surrendering is an effective remedy for all problems and worries. The point is, however, not to wait for our lives to collapse, but to remain in this state of consciousness as often as possible, preferably constantly. To release something with complete trust is a state of mind, soul, and body, of the whole being. But it's not always so easy to enter. Therefore, we have various tools and methods. Personally, the way I will share with you has worked best for me. It's incredibly easy, you can do it anytime, anywhere, and it always works. You just have to really use it and put aside any expectations of result. Despite the seeming simplicity, over time you will begin to discover deeper and deeper levels of what is actually happening during this process. Oponopono uses so-called word keys. These are sentences or words that we repeat in our minds. We could say magic formulas, but all magic is very simple. By repeating the selected sentence or words, we stop the flow of the mind. There is no room left for other thoughts, worries, or the search for solutions. The words we repeat are not completely random. Use those that help us tune in and focus in the desired direction. We can do the process of letting go in several steps at the beginning. Step 1. Awakening. Taking responsibility. Accept and realize the fact that we ourselves have a responsibility for everything that happens to us. It's not a question of guilt, but of stepping out of the role of a helpless victim and restoring confidence in oneself. We can perceive this step as such an awakening from dream, self-awareness, conscious stepping out from the situation, pausing. Step 2. Forgiveness. This step is not necessary, but I recommend it if we are facing some complication, problem, unpleasant feelings. We say to ourselves, please forgive me that something in me has caused this situation, problem. We don't turn to anyone outside here, but to ourselves. We can also say to our higher self, God, life. In fact, we are not guilty of anything, but we create guilt in ourselves, whether consciously or subconsciously. At first, we see ourselves as a victim, and we see guilt outside. Then, when we realize that our memories, programs, thoughts are the real cause, we can turn the blame against ourselves. This step helps us to let go of that guilt. Forgiveness actually means giving out from oneself. We give our permission to release the unpleasant feeling associated with knowing that some of our part has caused this seemingly unfavorable situation. Seemingly, because in fact every problem, unpleasant situation or person carries an opportunity. It will be revealed at the moment when there is forgiveness. Step 3. Letting go. Surrender is the real core of the whole spell. Step 1 and 2 are such a preparation. They will help us especially in the beginning. Later, we might find out that we no longer have to think or say anything, because the awareness of responsibility and forgiveness will happen automatically. It will become an integral part of us. Sometimes we will have to remind ourselves again in a more difficult situation, but most of the time it will no longer be necessary, and we can start right away with the letting go part. When surrendering, we repeat in our minds, I let it go and trust, or I let it go and give it over and I trust. Again, these specific words are not mandatory. We can easily change them or don't use any words at all. But for most of us, it's hard to be in a state of surrender and trust at the same time without any thoughts for a longer period. Repeating these words will make it much easier for us. So we keep repeating in our minds, I let it go and I trust. I let it go and I trust. Until we feel inner peace and confidence. And those are the main keys. If we can enter and remain calm and trusting, the world will take care of everything itself. Moreover, in this atmosphere, love and joy can germinate. That's what we all long for. It's the so-called zero state. Then real inspiration from God can come to us. We can think of something, we can say or do something, but it will have completely different quality and also results. Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom will also be revealed to us. It is important to have no expectations. We are open and flexible. I never know where the best comes from. We will be surprised by the wisdom of life. The law of the universe is that if we ask for something, it will be given to us. However, it is necessary to ask, give permission, open up, and detach yourself from the result, so that we relax in peace and confidence that the best will come at the right time. Remember, God, the universe, is never late. Step 4. Thank you, I love you. The words thank you and love you are other powerful keys. They tune us as we tune a musical instrument to gratitude and love, the source of all life. You can add them to the formula I let go and trust. But at the same time, they work independently. We can easily repeat just thank you, I love you, or just thank you, or just I love you, I love you. It's up to you what resonates with you the most at the moment. When we say thank you or I love you, we don't say it to anyone in particular. It is an inner communication with our higher self and with God. In fact, it's all about making that decision and stopping thoughts. Life, God, or the universe already knows what you want to say. As if you would press the button delete and restore the original settings. We give thanks for all, the good, even the seemingly bad. Because every problem is also an opportunity. We give thanks because we know that everything is solved the perfect way. We give thanks for the opportunity to return and remain in a state of peace and tranquility. We love life, God, and thus ourselves. In the state of gratitude and love, acceptance, surrender, and trust are automatically present. We don't need to wait for problems to appear. We can easily replace all thoughts throughout the day with a simple thank you or I love you. At the beginning, we may remember rarely or just with those problems. It gets easier over time. We will be even more aware of the difference in how we feel and what our reality is when we get lost in ordinary thoughts and worries and when we are in a state of letting go and gratitude. This doesn't mean that everything will always be pink and shiny. But what used to be a problem becomes an opportunity, just another treasure in the chest. And at the same time, we will experience somehow more fully and in present even those moments when we feel good, and suddenly there will be even more of them. You don't have to believe me, try it for yourself. If you decide to try, do it consciously and with a clear determination to persevere, at least for some time, a week, even better, a month. Sometimes you notice the change right away, something may take longer. But every time you decide to let go or say thank you, something starts to move. You sow a seed that will sooner or later germinate.